Even though that pizza was a little burnt, it was good. It was real good. Man, it's getting kind of nippy out here. We're going to start a fire and sit around and BS a little bit more.
We have 4 cameras going. This is a ritzy operation, man.
Man, that's going to be a good fire.
Well, we have plenty of wood too.
Well, we should have started about an hour ago, right after the pizza. That delicious, unburnt pizza.
Don't believe him. He likes burnt food now. What is your top things to do and not do as far as camping etiquette, as you've now seen, as you've been camping so much in Colorado? And I know you've camped a lot before this, but what are some of the things that just drive you insane, or things that you just love?
The biggest one is a barking dog. You know, you gotta travel with your pets. You gotta get your pets out, and I understand that. But when you just leave your dog there to bark, you know, when you go off and you go out to the lake or whatever, and you leave your dog in the camper or tied up at your campsite, and he just sits and barks the whole time. And I think that's what drives me nuts the most. That and slamming of the doors on your vehicles. There's so many ways you can close the door without slamming it. And I think I did a video once and I was trying to explain to act like you're deer hunting. You know, you're not gonna pull up and slam your door and hit your fob there. You're gonna gently shut the door and you're gonna lock it before you do that, you know, from the inside. And the biggest thing is just respecting one another, because you're not going to want to get woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning with me slamming my door. So, you know, it's all about the golden rule, I guess, and there's a little bit of religion there for you. But that's probably my biggest pet peeves, and what I like about it the most is not being cornered in 4 walls. You know, we all spend, you know, all day either in the office or, you know, had to put up with other people, and you get out in something like this and you just got to respect it. It's an amazing time just to get out of the apartment or your house or your office and just be free. I guess it is. It's the freedom as well I like the most.
So today we are up near the Wigwam Trail, if I can say that right. So we're in between Colorado Springs and Denver, west of Deckers, Colorado.
Yeah.
And we're definitely rural camping, remote camping.
Boondocking.
Mm-hmm. What do you like better? Because you've been in a lot of campgrounds where everybody's real close together and you got services. What do you prefer?
That's funny. I say this almost in every one of my videos. It was, I prefer established campgrounds. Of course, it has its negatives, and that is people are camping real close to you. But the positives about it is you have a camp host usually on staff that's going to take care of all the people that's going to be, you know, rowdy all night long. They make sure that the quiet hours are taken care of. An established campground, you have the Forest Service, they patrol it a lot more than they do out here in the boondocks. And it's like if someone was to be right down here target practicing shooting, we couldn't do anything about it, and they could do it all night long because it's legal. You know, in an established campground, they're not going to be out there shooting, running fireworks or anything like that, or they'll get run off. So I prefer established campgrounds.
Okay, I've got 2 pet peeves myself, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on them. When people pull into a campground, I don't care if it's a campground established or remote, and they are real late at night and they turn their, I guess they don't even have to turn their high beams on, but I've seen them where they turn their high beams on so they can see to set up their campsite. Mm-hmm. Drives me insane. And the other thing is these generators. Are you fine with both of those? Or, I mean, and how do you, I mean, a lot of people are going to get to the campsite late at night and they don't have a choice. They left work.
Yeah.
They can't go early. You and I both left a little early today. And, I mean, sometimes you have no choice.
No, I get it. You know, it's a long drive to get in the mountains, especially on a Friday because of all the traffic, and you're going to show up after dark. It's inevitable. You're going to. And all it comes back to is respecting one another. You know, if I pull into a campsite and I see that my lights are hitting somebody else, I'll turn them off. I'll get my lanterns out and we'll set up camp. but nobody thinks like that. Not anymore. Something's went wrong in the world to have people think it's okay just to disrespect people, and what they're trying to do. They're out there for a reason, just like you are. They're tired of everybody. They're tired of sitting in their offices. They want to be out in nature. So why ruin it for them?
Okay, how about music?
Freedom. That's one reason we come out here is for freedom. I've got a DeWalt Bluetooth speaker that I take with me, and I have Spotify, and I actually have my own, boondocking music channel. But if you're sitting 20 feet away from me, you can't hear it because I have it low. I have it sitting over here in my chair, and it's relaxing music. I really like it. But it's the people that's across the campground that's just blaring their radio. Now, they have all rights to do it because it's not within a quiet hour. But then it all stems back to no respect for others. They're away from their HOAs or something like that, so they think they just come out and just be animals.
Well, one thing I find a bit interesting is everybody's, I think, wants to get out to the mountains to enjoy nature and get away from the city. And I guess, you've got a ranch, and in Texas, you've lived rural sometimes, and of course I do here in Colorado. I'm away from the city, and I really like the peace and quiet. And I will go on a drive and not even have music in my truck as I'm thinking or pondering the future. And I think some people get out to these campsites, and they're basically taking the city with them.
Sure.
And they don't realize that, there's a lot of probably unwritten rules.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually thinking about writing a book one time about, man rules, I was going to call them, because a bunch of us guys were going hiking all the time. And we were coming up all these lists of rules.
Is that just outdoor man rules, or is it the man rule handbook? Because there's a lot of things you put in there.
Yeah. No, it's just outdoor. When you're camping, number one thing, two things. Don't ever talk about work, and don't talk about family issues. You're out to have fun with your buddies and enjoy the outdoors. Leave everything from work and home at home.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
People don't know how to separate anymore. They're stuck in their rut. They can't remove themselves from that anymore, and that's their identity. And so they have to take it with them. They have to take, the drama, you might say. And I think social media is the biggest key of that. And if you can't stir up drama on social media, then you're nothing. You're not going to have any sympathy from people that don't even know you. So, yeah, I think you hit it spot on. They bring the city to out here to the wilds and in the woods, and they don't need to. That's just my opinion, though.
So I think you've actually no, it's not a think here. You've camped and traveled more in Colorado than I have, and I've been around Colorado than a lot of native Coloradans.
Yeah, in the last 2 years, we've camped 26 times and gone to, multiple cities and festivals and events and stuff. It's funny because whenever someone at work will ask me, where are you going this weekend? And I'll tell them, they go, I've never been there and I've lived there my whole life. I'm like, man, what is wrong with you? My wife and I used to come up here on vacation, and it was our 1 week out of the year that we could get away from the Texas hustle and bustle, down in the Dallas area, and to come up here and just sit in the woods or in the mountains for a week, that was just amazing to us. And we always swore that we would move up here, and we finally were able to do it. And yeah, I don't get why there's so much disrespect in the campgrounds when it's supposed to be a place of solitude, and it's a place to come find yourself. I had a nephew told me as soon as we moved up here, he said, go up there and find yourself. And that's what I did. I did it out on the lake one time, and it was just an amazing feeling to know that all that pressure was gone off of me, and I was out, in nature, doing what I love the most, and that was fishing on the lake.
So I don't understand fishing. I know how to fish, okay, but when I'd go with my dad when we were younger, I would skunk him all the time. And over the years, like right now, I go fishing with Mike quite a bit. And I would rather sit there and enjoy the view or go for a hike rather than fish. I just really don't like it. So, I mean, what is it that you find interesting about fishing? You know, that you could. So there's a lot of other people like me that are like, you know, let me go buy my fish at the store or whatever, or I'll go see him at Bass Pro or something. But what is it that you like about it?
Well, that's the hard one right there, because, you know, my wife's the same way. She'd rather go take her Kindle and sit on the bank and read the Kindle while I'm out in the river fishing. And I think you know, I've been fishing my whole life. My dad used to take me out in the boat. We'd run trot lines and catch, you know, just a boatload of catfish, and that was a chore. That was like work. I got into fly fishing about 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. And what it drawed me to that was that you have to concentrate so hard on your cast and your fly, and as soon as it hits the water, to concentrate, because that trout's just barely going to hit that thing, and you have to know exactly your response time to pick it up. And what I found with that was it took everything out of my head, all my work, all my drama, all my problems, all everything, you know, money issues, whatever was going on. If I went fishing, it was just me and that fly, and that was it. And so that's what's drawn me to it. You know, I don't catch and eat, I catch and release, because them beautiful rainbows, you know, they need to go right back in. I'm not going to eat those. They're delicious, I have, but it's always a catch and release. It's more of the challenge. It's everything. I mean, it's everything I can describe. It's being out in the water. No one's going to come out into the river with you and sit there and talk trash in your ear and try to, you know, tell you you're doing things wrong. They may laugh at you later on with their buddies, but you are by yourself, just you, that rod, and that fly, and that's the only thing that matters in life at that particular moment. So that's what I like.
I've heard a lot recently, and you know, you've seen it my whole life, that a lot of times the higher up you go in a company, it's more challenging, and some people will start drinking. But then, like you're referring to, if you can go out and go fishing and there's no cell phone, or hopefully you've turned your cell phone off, and it takes so much effort to get that fish that you at least lose yourself in some way. And instead of maybe going to something like, some people might do drugs, some people might do alcohol, or whatever vice they might have. And to me, that's, I don't know, do you think that's something that helps a lot of people deal with the stresses from during the week?
They actually have a program for ex-military with PTSD, and it's teaching them how to fly fish, because it takes all that away from you. I'm not saying fly fishing's the only way out. You know, you can just sit at the bank and stare at a bobber all day long with a minnow on the other side and be the same thing. You know, I didn't start drinking until I started climbing the ladder, so you're exactly right. And it turned into a vice. And it was my escape from reality for so many years, and that turned me into an alcoholic. And then I had to finally decide I needed help, and so I sought help, and I got into a program with men and women, and it was an amazing turn of event for my life. It didn't matter if I was fishing or not, because I would bring it with me. I'd have a flask with me, or I'd have a bottle with me stuck down in my waders, or on the boat, whatever. It was the only way I knew how to escape. So it became a crutch and a vice, but now, since I've been alcohol-free now for 4 years, you know, I don't need it anymore. Now I've found other ways to take that stress and that anguish away from me, and that's doing this right here, and that's one of the reasons why I camp so much, and just to get away from it all.
So what's your favorite festival that you've been to here in Colorado? And I guess maybe not even Colorado.
Well, my biggest disappointment was the Lumberjack Festival
You remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, that was a very big disappointment.
Now, I think a lumberjack festival in Oregon or Washington probably is pretty legit, or
Yeah.
Alaska, Canada.
Yeah, it's not a Colorado thing. I would say it was the Botanical Gardens, and it was the light show, or the Christmas lights at Botanical Gardens up in Denver was probably the best thing I've been to. But you know, there's something going on every weekend, almost in every town. The farmers markets are amazing up here, and we love going to those and walking around. And they're they're expensive. You know, a lot of it's imported produce. But I was talking to one of the ladies. They do have the big greenhouses, and they grow year round up here. And so, you know, we try to buy local wherever we go. But as far as festivals, we've been to so many. Jack-o'-lantern festival they have every Halloween. That's amazing. And it's almost like the Botanical Gardens. You walk around just miles and miles of jack-o'-lanterns. I mean, you have Superman, Harry Potter. You got everything you can think of. You know, it's carved. And then they have laser shows, you know, on pumpkins, and it makes it look like they're dancing and singing. And that's just right here, I think, in Littleton. So,
what about the festival that you went to in Breckenridge? That was, I mean, I enjoyed seeing that, but was that?
Well, that was the snow sculpting.
Oh yeah.
Festival, and that was pretty good, but there was just a million people.
Yeah.
It took us 2 hours to find parking, and we had to just circle and circle and circle and wait for somebody to leave, and it was just very, very crowded, and it was hard to get in and out of, and it was neat. It was cool to see. But then right after that, we went down to the ice sculpting festival down at that what's that casino town south of here?
Capital City or Central City?
Central City is next to Blackhawk.
Okay. Oh, it's down by south of Pikes Peak.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Anyway.
I'll put it up on the screen.
That was the ice sculpting festival, and that was amazing because it's set in that old mining town. The casinos weren't like it were in Blackhawk, where you had, you know, like the Harrah's and stuff like that. These were actually in historic hotels and things like that. But it was all up and down Main Street, and oh man, it was just amazing how they did that ice. So that was really a good one.
Okay, I need some advice from you.
Uh-oh.
There's a lot of times I do not want to go to some of these festivals because of the traffic or the parking. You know, what do you do? Do you just, I mean, knowing that it's going to be that way and you've just got to relax and find your way, you know, wait for that spot, or you park farther out?
Number one, I hate people. And I hate crowds.
I love you too.
And I hate crowds. I mean, I just don't like being around crowds.
Yeah.
And that smoke follows beauty, doesn't it? God,
yeah, well, I might have another thing to say about that. So why do you go out then so much?
I research the crap out of everything. And I'll set my little Google man down, and I'll walk him around all the streets and stuff like that. And I'll find the parking areas, and then I'll get on forums, and I'll see where the best parking is and how much it's going to cost, and where you can park for free or whatever. I mean, I spend a considerable amount of time researching this stuff, and the wife always gets on to me because every place we go, I've done it 15 or 20 times on Google, and just so I can know what's going to happen. And so it's kind of funny that I'll tell her, yeah, right up around the corner, we can see this. And she'll, how do you know that? Well, because I know, because I've already done this 5 times. Like we went to South Dakota, we went to the cemetery up on the hill where Wild Bill Hickok is buried. And I walked that 100 times before we actually got there. So, because I knew exactly where to go. I knew where to go to see Seth Bullock's grave. I knew all that stuff. And so it's really not a surprise to me. So I kind of know what's, and that's just my OCD kicking in there, because I don't like surprises.
So when you go on a drive, on a trip, do you plan it all out? Do you ever leave any gaps for something that shows up along the way that you didn't know that was there?
I do now. I didn't before, but I do now. Now I can kind of go with the flow a little bit, but because I've calmed down since I've come up to Colorado.
Yeah.
And
is it really being here versus Texas? I mean, what was it that calmed you down?
Work, stress, family, stress, drama, all that crap.
So you got away from family a bit.
Yeah, I did. I left all that. It was a toxic environment.
Yeah.
And so I had to leave all that behind me. And you get up here, you don't have all that anymore. And so, I mean, how does that tie into my OCD? I don't know. But now I can deal with not knowing what the next turn is exactly. It's just like when we went camping at Echo Park up at Dinosaur Monument, and we ended up getting rained out, and we're sitting in the truck, you know, in front of a hotel the next day when we're supposed to be camping for 4 days straight. And it was like, what do we do now? I don't know. So we just hit the road and went south, and we drove all the way down through Utah and came up around Arizona and back up and around, and didn't really have a plan. It was just look on the map at the next big attraction and head that way. So,
Well, wasn't one of your biggest attractions this year, like 2 of them, for the chili festival? You guys are big chili cook. There's been some awards you guys have won, and actually Julie and I were wanting to get out and go to the festival where you're at with the cook-off, and we didn't make it. But how did you guys get into all that? And I mean, you've told me a little bit, and some of it's, you know, the spices you use. You got to wait till things, you know, the spice opens up, and there's a lot to it. And first of all, can you kind of tell me a few things, how you got into it, but how did you guys do this year also?
well, I'm trying to make this long story short, but when our last kid left the nest, we were empty nesters looking for something to do, and I've always cooked barbecue. And so we were looking to get into some barbecue cook-offs, and we found out that there was going to be about $1,000 weekends. And so we decided, well, this is going to be a little bit too expensive for us, so we were looking for something a little bit cheaper. We just happened to go up to Durant, Oklahoma, and they were having a chili cook-off that weekend. So we walked around the booths talking to everybody, and decided we were going to start cooking chili that next weekend. So
What year was that?
Good gosh.
Okay, 15 years, 20 years.
When was that? 2011? Yeah, 2011. 2010. 10 or 11 is when we
So
started.
about 15 years?
Yeah, something like that. So we started cooking, and we enjoyed it. We enjoyed the camaraderie, and that's when, I was drinking heavy, so that was great, because chili cooking is a party, and we had a great time and traveled all over southern United States, cooking sometimes up to 50, 55 times a year. And, if you add that up, there's only 52 weeks, so we were cooking sometimes 2 times a weekend, different places. And it took us about a year before we actually started, placing and hitting, and we just had to cook with the right team, you might say. So we started cooking with the Bottom of the Barrel gang, and they started showing us some secrets and how to cook and what spices to use, and so we started winning. And in 2015, we walked across the world stage, both together, placing 10th and 11th in the World Championship. And
Where was that at?
Tulingua. It's right on the border of Texas and Mexico. I mean, you can see the Rio Grande right there.
Is it there every year?
Every year.
Okay.
There's 2 of them there, but we won't go into that. I cook for an organization called CASI, which is Chili Appreciation Society International, and it's a cook for charity. So every cook-off, they have a charity that all the money goes to, and we cook for points. So top 10 gets points, and you have to accumulate so many points to get invited to the World Championship. So from there, we stayed on a roll pretty good for the next several years. Then I bought that ranch out in West Texas, and I found a new hobby. Then we slowed our cooking down to maybe 3 or 4 times a year, and then when we moved up here, they don't have near as many cook-offs as Texas does. Texas has a cook-off in just about every town, from 50-mile radius. So up here, they only have 2 a year.
Do you find it more challenging in Texas versus here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of good cooks in Texas. And not taking away any credit from the Colorado cooks or nothing like that, but there's something about Texas red chili that it's hard to beat.
What is it that makes red chili? I mean, I think it's the beans and things, but what is it about red chili? Is it something that's because it's grown there in Texas, it's local they're using?
There's 2 or 3 spice companies in Texas. I cook with a company called Lone Star Chili Spices out of San Antonio, and a lot of the people cook with the others. And, they buy their chili spices from the same people in New Mexico, and they just repackage it, and then they say it's their chili spices, whatever, but I don't play that game with them. It's really on how you cook it. in the blend of different chili spices you put in. So, you know, a new cook will come in there and do all these weird spices and put, you know, chocolate or put, you know, they'll do their mom's secret recipe, and it just doesn't do good. And I don't know why. It's just there's something about, there's a certain way you have to cook it. There's a certain way that they have to bloom. There's certain rest periods, and there's really a science to it to make it happen, you know, to make it that good. Yeah, this year we've only cooked twice. We cooked at the Colorado State Championship, which my wife won for the second year in a row, and we cooked in Laramie, and I got 4th place in Laramie. Last year, when she won Colorado State, I got 3rd, I think, yeah, 3rd there. And then the Chugwater cook-off in Wyoming, I got 2nd in that one. But everybody cooks the same, not the same recipe, but they kind of, it's got to be the same, because there's a science to it about you can't have any fillers, so it's pretty much meat and sauce. And so all your spices are all ground and they dissolve in there, so you just end up with meat and sauce.
So when are we going to see your recipe at the grocery store?
No, I ain't that good. There's a few. There's some world champions out there that actually have their spice mix where you can buy it.
Yeah.
You know, but we can't use a spice mix when we're doing competition chili. We have to mix everything on site, you know, in front of judges.
So how secretive are you with
I'm not secretive at all. I mean, I can write it word for word exactly what I use and exactly what spices, the amount and the timing and everything, and you can cook my recipe, but you can't cook my chili.
So explain that.
It's about the pot.
Yeah.
It's about the heat. It's about your on and offs. It's about your 9-bubble boil to your rolling boil. It's knowing the timing on all this.
Okay.
And
does the weather or the, you know, how cold or warm it is, does that affect things?
humidity and altitude
Yeah.
is the main thing.
Okay.
And when you're altitude, you have to burn it a little bit hot, you know, hotter, because it takes it longer to boil. Yeah, it's a little bit different, and my wife's pot's thicker than mine, and so that's why she always places better than I do. We cook the exact same recipe, but she always beats me because her pot, she doesn't have to cook it as hot because her pot retains the heat. I have to cook mine higher, which boils more, which boils the moisture off, so I got to add more broth, you know, things like that, which diminishes my flavor of my spices, and she doesn't have to do that. So
when are you going to change pots?
you know, I've walked across the world stage twice with that pot. I'm going to keep that pot.
So does it, like a cast iron, does it then hold in the, over time, the...
No, we don't use cast iron because cast iron has a flavor to it that people don't like.
Okay.
So it's just, I don't know, it's about a $50 3-quart pot.
I think probably the main reason you don't want to go to a different pot is because you want Candy to place higher than you.
You know, it's always nice for her to win and
Yeah. So is there a good competition between you? Is that
not at all.
Really?
Because it's funny because, you know, it's a double blind. You put it in a white cup and then you have a number that you rip off, and then your other half of that number is on the cup behind a piece of duct tape, so no one knows whose cup is which. Hence why you can't mark the cup. And if I did onions and I cut my onions in triangles and I put them in my chili, and then I know 4 of the judges and say, hey, my onions are triangles, and then they take a bite and they see triangled onions and they know it's my cup and they can score it a 10. Hence a marked cup. So, but I always hold her ticket, and so it's just really neat to be able just to hand her ticket. You know, when she won Texas Ladies State, it was really, really good to stand up and escort her to the stage, you know, and I'd rather her win than me any day.
Well, I know last night we had some great conversations sitting by the fire, and we just got done with breakfast here, so I thought it was a good breakfast.
No, that's good. I wasn't planning on really videoing and anything for this podcast last night, but we had some really good conversations. So, you know, how many times around a campfire do you get some of the best conversations ever?
Yeah, you can solve all the world's problems and all yours as well around a campfire.
Where's your favorite place to camp? And kind of 2 different types here. Tent camping versus camping with your truck camper?
Well, if I had to choose, I would pick the truck camper over the tent any day because I'm getting old and I like the luxury of the truck camper. But as far as favorite places in Colorado so far, it's been West Chicago Creek Campground, and we did that last weekend. And it was just amazing, especially at this time of year with the fall colors and with all the aspen trees changing. It was awesome. It was almost a spiritual experience.
I want to add that video right here. It's going to be on the screen and then in the description below so people can see it, because you're talking about the aspens and walking on aspen leaves.
It was tranquil, to be honest. I mean, if you can describe the streets of heaven as the streets of gold, I would picture that. I'd picture that trail that we were hiking on with all the gold leaves on it. I would picture that pretty much to be what heaven would be like.
So what about before Colorado? Where would you say has some of been your best camping spots?
Well, being from Texas, and living there for 51 years, I'm kind of partial to that area because Texas really has it all. You got, the forest, and you have the mountains down south, the Davis Mountains, you have the desert, and you have the shoreline down at the Gulf of Mexico. I've spent 60 days in the Chihuahuan Desert on the Rio Grande, and that was truly amazing. And in a week's time, you experience snow, monsoons, and extreme heat. So you got to be prepared for all of it. But I would say one of my favorites is not even in Texas. It's in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, which is about 2 hours north of where we lived, and it's right there on the Beavers Bend area. And God, man, at Hochatown, it's just awesome. You do have the smaller mountains and the trees, the flowing river. They stock the Three Forks River with trout, every couple of weeks, and there's just a lot to do there, and that's probably my favorite place. But it's getting commercialized now, and there's a lot of people going there. So if I'm gonna be around a lot of people, I might as well go to Port Aransas, Texas, down on the coast, and do some sea trout fishing.
Yeah, so I've been down to Broken Bow several times, and that lake is pretty clear, and then there's a lot of pine trees around there. Reminds me of Colorado a little bit, but with a lot smaller mountains. It's a pretty area. A lot of people from Texas come up there. It's probably closer to Dallas than it is Oklahoma City.
It is, and we've been going there for 30 years. We go up there twice a year for 30 years, and it was, back in those days, there wasn't anybody there. It was just a small little town. They had, I think, 20 cabins that you could rent, right there in the state park area. And the last time we were there 2 years ago, there's now over, I think, 1,000 cabins, Airbnbs around that area. They're putting a huge casino. It's just not the same. You sit in traffic, for an hour at a time just to try to get through Hochatown, and it's just not the same anymore. It's just too touristy.
Wow.
And you can't even get in the rivers. I mean, you have to get in the river at daylight, or you're side by side, trying to cast right next to somebody, and it's just not worth it anymore.
So have you been to Cheeseman Canyon and fished that at all?
I've hiked it. I hiked all around it, but I haven't fished it yet.
Because Cheeseman Canyon's pretty busy, and there's a lot of pressure on those fish there. But even there, you're probably no closer than 100 yards to another fisherman. So you're saying it's a lot more crowded there and down by Beaver, or?
Yeah, on Three Forks there, if by 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, you're shoulder to shoulder. I mean, you have to do roll cast. You can't actually get your rod out and do fly fishing. You'll hit somebody. So, I mean, you were shoulder to shoulder all in there. It really makes it non-fun.
That sounds a lot like when the salmon are spawning up in Alaska.
Yeah. That's on my bucket list, by the way.
But I wonder if you could go places there in Alaska and maybe you get on a float plane or something and just get farther away from the city. Because I'd like to do that also, but going shoulder to shoulder with people.
There's a place in Alaska where you can have a drop-off point, and they'll drop you, and then they'll come back and pick you up the next week, and then you'll never see another person. And that's awesome to me. But
well,
I don't know, you got grizzlies up there.
Yeah, I was gonna say they may not see you again either.
That's right.
Have you been to Alaska at all?
No, it's on my bucket list. I've got several places pinned up there to go, and we've tried 2 or 3 times, but it just doesn't seem like it works out right now. But it's planned for 2026, I believe, is when we're planning on doing it. So
Are you going
hopefully
to take the truck camper?
Oh no, we're going to fly into Anchorage, and then we're going to take the train to Denali, and we're going to go up and do some wilderness hiking, seeing some wildlife and stuff, and then we're going to go into Fairbanks and take a river cruise and then fly back from there. So it's going to be more of a vacation than it would be an adventure.
On that cruise you're going to do out of Fairbanks, there are some places people stop, or the cruises stop, to see those glaciers, and now they fallen into the ocean. Are you going to stop and see any of that?
I think, yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I've got it planned out, but I think we're going to do like whale watching out of Anchorage. And as far as Fairbanks, it's just like a little river cruise or something for like a day or 2.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure. I've still got a lot more research to do on it.
2026?
2026, that's when it's planned. We try to do a big vacation every 2 years. And
Yeah.
like this coming 2025, we're going to be up in Yellowstone, hiking most of all that. And then I think we're also going to do a 4-day trip out to Niagara Falls because I want to zip line across.
You can do that.
Yeah.
Hope
Why
that
not?
line doesn't break.
Well, we've already zip lined the Royal Gorge, which is the highest zip line in America. And
Oh, that's down by out west of Canyon City, right?
Yeah, the Royal Gorge is amazing, and as long as you don't look down, and what's the worst is going to happen if you do fall? I mean, you don't have to go to work Monday.
Yeah, I've hiked along that canyon, and I saw it. We stopped and we took pictures from a distance, and I saw a lot of things they have. They have a restaurant there, and there's a couple different things you can do. Plus, I think walking across that bridge, can't you? There's like holes in it or something, or a grate where you can almost see through it.
Yeah, you can see through the slats. You can get on the outside and look down. We've been there twice now. We usually don't go back to the same place twice because there's just so much to see that I can't live long enough to see it all. So that's why we try to not go back to the same place. But we just had to. So the first time there, we did everything above the canyon, and the second time we went back, we actually rode the train, with the glass tops, and that was along the Colorado River. No, it was Arkansas River, along the Arkansas River there, and it was awesome.
Have you floated that?
Not yet.
It's pretty cool.
It's on the plans.
Yeah.
It's either that or I'm gonna go float. What's that little creek up there? Right out of Golden. Clear Creek Canyon, yeah, right out of Golden. That one's I want to go float that one.
There's some Class 5 rapids, 1 or 2 on the Arkansas River as you go through the gorge.
Yep. I think you can actually pick your adventure. They have up to Class 5, and you can pick that.
Yeah, and there's multiple companies out there, and we had, I think, 5 or 6 rafts with us. And we got into the area where there's a Class 5, and one of them flipped.
Oof.
And what happened was one of the least experienced guides got hung up on a rock in the middle. And then one of the more experienced guides had to try to get around him. And when he went around, it flipped his boat. And so there was 5 or 6 people in the water, and we were the lead boat. And they pulled over real quick and tied us off. And all the guides jumped out and were running up, throwing lines in the water. We pulled 2 people into our boat when they came down. A couple people cut underwater for a little while. And they were in shock. And it's a lot of fun out there, and I've never seen that happen before until that point. But it could have ended badly.
Yeah, it may change my mind on wanting to do that.
I'd do it again, but there's always that risk.
Well, that's why I want to do a float trip out of Moab, do a 3-day float trip, and they go out. They don't have the Class 5 rapids through that area, so it's a 1 and 2s, and
Yeah.
you can just float down. They have camp set up for you, and by the time you get there, and it's supposed to be just a very relaxing and awesome time.
Yeah. So have you done the rim to rim hike?
Where?
So it's in the Grand Canyon, and you go from the
I've
South
never been
Rim
to
to the
Grand
North
Canyon.
Rim.
It's on the list.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to go there, I like the North Rim better. The South Rim's a lot larger and more commercialized, and the North Rim has a huge lodge right on the canyon on the rim, so you can have dinner there, breakfast, and all that, and you're just basically looking right down in there. And you sit up higher, and there's a bunch of pine trees, so it's more like this right here, and it's a more relaxed atmosphere. There's cabins and things up there, and it takes about 4 or 5 hours to get around over there, but it's worth it.
Which side is the sky bridge on, where you can walk out over the glass?
I don't know. I would want to say it's probably on the south side because that's where all the tourists are at, but I could be wrong.
Well, that's one of my things I have to do. I know it's commercialized, and I know they charge a fortune to get out there and just walk across it, but if you're there, you got to do it. It's almost like going to the Hoover Dam. You really need to get out and walk across it. So
I've heard some people recently, somebody I know that says that, especially on the north side, you can get off and drive on these trails out to the edge of the canyon, and you can camp out there. And they're like, talking about how spectacular it is, and everybody goes to the South Rim or the North Rim, but there's so much to see if you're willing to go off trail with. You probably need a 4-wheel drive. Sometimes you probably don't, but I'd research that a little bit to see if there's some really cool places to get to.
well, that's kind of the way it is in Big Bend. I mean, you can see it, and it's great, but until you get off-road and get down in the dispersed areas, I mean, you're not really seeing everything. And you can get down to Santa Elina's Canyon, and I mean, it's just so awe-inspiring that you'll sit there for 2 hours just staring at it. It's just amazing. So we don't even need a wall on the south border because that's a 1,000-foot cliff.
Yeah, last night we were talking a lot about camp etiquette, and we don't need to necessarily jump back into that, but we were talking about people and how they are today. And I know you've been around since dinosaurs.
Getting there. I think I remember helping hatch some dinosaur eggs.
But, it's like, I kind of think about this, getting out here, whether you're going to the places like the Grand Canyon and Zion National Park, that's a place I haven't been to yet, I really want to get to. But, getting out here and just being outdoors, and then as I'm in Denver going, because I work around, north side of Denver, you're south side of Denver, and, you meet people, and as closer you get into the big cities, it's just different from what you and I are used to. And I'm kind of curious, and I know we might get a little touchy subject here, but what's the difference, do you think, from people, from World War II and on, and what we're seeing now? And is it a phase? Do you think we're going to circle back around to people being different, or are we heading down this path? Maybe you can't turn things around so that, society, they're just going one direction, but, maybe you reach a few people here and there along the way to help them enjoy things like this, or realize there's a different way to think, or that maybe you shouldn't be watching news all the time. Well, I just opened up a can of worms, so that's a lot.
Yeah, without getting too political or getting on the soapbox or anything, my personal belief is Gen X is the last generation that had their moms at home, that you could have one income and live a great life in America. I believe when the moms had to go to work, that's whenever the kids were either raised in childcare or sitting at home on their computers or their video games, and they've lost all touch of reality. And I think that's where we went wrong. That's just my belief, and we can go even further into Walmart. Sam Walton had a great vision, and he was very successful, but I don't think it was right. His vision was the customer is always right no matter what, and it gave the customer all the right in the world to completely just be belligerent and get their way on everything, even if they were wrong. If you walked into a True Value in a small town of 400 and start throwing fits and being a Karen or a Ken, you get kicked out. But in Walmart, you can go in there and be whoever you want to be and scream and holler, and you'll get your way and get your money back on something that you bought somewhere else. And there's nothing that, they're going to do to stop you. Because all you got to do is call 1-800-WALMART, and the lady on the other phone is going to tell the manager to give you the money and shut you up and get out of the store. So that's made society be more entitled than what there should be. Now you got your mom gone, you got your dad gone, you're at home by yourself, you're getting all these fast food meals, you're getting everything instant, you get to go to Walmart, you get your money back on something that you didn't like the color of, you get all this kind of stuff. So now you become entitled and you have this entitled mentality, and so now you bring that out here to the woods, and I'm entitled to put my radio as high as I want to. I'm entitled to party all night long, no matter if I got someone camping 50 feet from me or not, so that you're entitled to it. And so I think that's our younger generation. That may be an old man talking, but that's just my beliefs.
Well, one thing I don't understand, it really irritates me. And some cities are worse than others, but not only, here in Denver, the farther you go into the city, they're locking stuff up a lot more. Out where we live, you're not going to see them locking things up. And then if you go into the mountains, they don't. But what I've seen, from Portland, Seattle, I've heard in California, they know they can steal like $900, $950 worth of stuff, and it's a misdemeanor, if that. Mm. And they can get away with it. And so they just make trips in and out of stores, and even here, I was talking to somebody at a grocery store, and they can't stop you. They can't approach you if you leave with stuff. Now, they say, it's like, well, you can't come back in the store. We see you doing that. I'm like, okay, well, you didn't stop them going out the first time. Are you going to stop them going out the second time? And a lot of people, they say, are actually stealing alcohol. But I hear this. People are just brazenly taking stuff and stealing, and the authorities aren't doing anything, or the legislatures are passing laws or telling the authorities that they, or the police and all that you can't stop, you can't do this or whatever. I'm like, is that any way to live? And I just don't understand it. And I know we're not going to solve this problem here, but to me, there's a loose connection here between what they're doing in these cities, and then when we see people out here camping and hiking and smoking pot and blaring music on the trails. And now this is where in closer to the bigger cities. Mm-hmm. Out here, I see less of that. I don't know. It's just, I don't like the way our society is going in the big cities. And that's why I'm more of a small town guy. It's like, just get me out of these big cities. I don't like where they're heading.
Well, hiking trails, as you get closer to the big city, one of my big pet peeves is your dog crap. Now, I understand you got to take your dogs out. You can't leave them locked up in your apartment all day long. So you got to get them out. You got to walk them and stuff. But these hiking trails, they'll actually take the doggy poo bag. They'll pick their dog poo up, tie it in a knot, and leave it on the trail. And I just don't understand that. And they think, I guess, the poo fairies are going to come by and pick all their little bags up. I mean,
I think they exist.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, because next time I go out, they're gone for some reason. But
well, I'll say this real quick. We'll do that once in a while. It's usually in our neighborhood, though, and we'll pick it up. We'll put it by the road because we know we're coming back, and we'll pick it up on going back. So I think there's probably some of that. But then there is some where it's like, well, okay, that's been there for a week now. Guess you can come pick it up.
Yeah, you can tell if they pick it up and they set it on a rock right over here, you know they're coming back and it looks fresh. But if it's been stepped on and squished on the ground, you're like, come on, man. I mean, my little Chihuahua, he poos like that big.
Yeah.
That's not going to hurt anybody, but I still, out of respect, pick it up. But I tie it around his collar and make him carry it. So.
Yeah. Well, around here, a lot of the trails down by Larkspur, where we live in that area, is, there's a bunch of horses out there. And I just want to tell, I love horses. I love ranches and people that live on them. But I'm like, I got to pick up my dog poop. Can you please pick up that horse and the manure?
Well, I mean, you know, if a bear craps in the woods, you know, why can't my dog?
Yeah.
But no, it's just out of respect of people. That's all it is. And it's that sense of entitlement as you get closer to the bigger cities. And it's just sad on the direction that we've gone in this society. Now, if you go out to a third world country, like we just got back from Belize last month, and it's just amazing how happy they are with what little they have. And we as Americans have gotten so spoiled with all this technology and these big houses and big money and nice cars, and they're putting their family on a motorcycle, a family of 6 on a motorcycle, going down a dirt road, and they live in a little shack, and they're just as happy as can be. It's just amazing to see.
You can get 6 people on a motorcycle?
Believe it or not, it's unsafe. But yeah, I mean, as an American looking at that, I'm like, oh my gosh, these kids are going to fall off. But no, these kids are holding on to handlebars. One's holding on to mom's, you know, belt straps right over the back tire, you know, and they've got 2 kids between them. I mean, they can get a family of 6 on a little Honda 100. I've seen it.
I remember growing up, and we'd be riding around in trucks, sitting on the edge of the trucks on, you know, no seat belts, you know, steel dashboards, no helmets on the bikes. I mean, all the stuff we did, and now it's like you got to be bubble wrapped in order to go do anything. I'm like, okay, I mean, you know, there's safety, seat belts and all that. That's good. But sometimes I just feel like we've gone too far with protecting. Now, I mean, I'm not going to let if I see my kids sitting on the edge of the truck on the, you know, the rail or whatever, the side of the truck, and they're driving down the road at 50 miles an hour, I'm going to go pull them off. Or, you know, I'll threaten them. But there's so much stuff that we did, and we still lived. I mean,
yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot, you know, wrong with us. But you know, the one vacation that I took with my parents back in 1980, we went to California, and it was a 3-day trip to get out there in the old Ford that we were in, and I rode in the back of the truck the whole way. And it's just unbelievable how we coddle people now, and it's all because of stupid people. That's all it is, because there's a rule in place because someone was dumb enough to do that. You know, just like on your McDonald's coffee, you know, may scald, you know, hot, be careful. Like, duh. But just because somebody sued McDonald's and won $10 million because they spilled coffee in their lap, and just because of our judicial system let that happen. If they would have said, man, get out of my court, then that would never happen again. So, but yet we coddle to the person that's most loudest.
so interestingly enough, you and I met when somebody at work introduced us, and we both had YouTube channels, and we started talking, and it's been almost 2 years, year and a half that we've been talking, and
yeah.
that's a real adventure in itself, is setting that up and deciding if you want to shoot videos or what are you going to shoot, and how, you know, is it a hobby, is it a business? How'd you get started? And tell me a little bit about your YouTube channel.
So the YouTube channel is MeAndHerAfterKids, all one word. It got started from my oldest daughter always telling me, you need to start a YouTube channel. And I didn't know the first thing about it. I don't know technology that well. And so I did my research, and I just really didn't want to get into it. It's going to take too much time. I thought too much money, too much time, too much effort. I like to go have adventures. I didn't want to worry about what I said, how I said it, or anything like that. And the more I got into it, I was like, oh, I'm just going to give it a shot. And so I shot one video and posted it, and it did absolutely nothing, just like I figured it would. And because I didn't know how to edit, you know, I edited it from my smartphone, and I didn't know anything. And we kind of really had the mindset of creating something so our grandkids could come back and watch when we're dead and gone. You know, maybe morbid, but, you know, gives us a legacy deal. Because we thought it was going to be really neat to have our grandkids. You know, we have 7 of them now, and in their 20 years from now, when they have their own family, that they can say, hey, you know, Nani and G-Top stood right here, and they hiked this trail, and they were in their 50s. And so that's kind of how it all got started. And then when we moved up here, it was just another way of sealing the deal on the babies and the girls all watching, you know, us. So every time my video drops every Thursday at 5 o'clock, when they get home from school or whatever, they watch, you know, me and her do our thing and do our adventures. And from there, it just kind of grew. And then, but I didn't know how to do a lot of things. And so that's when I was seeking out, you know, you, because you're a lot bigger channel than me, and getting some ideas. And then I started talking to other YouTubers around and trying to get some ideas from them on what tech they're using and how they're editing their videos and what to do. And you can see, just my channel's 2 years old, I think, this December. And so you can see the progression from just taking still pictures with some music in the background to actually telling stories and talking and action shots with B-roll. And, you know, that's the kind of crap I didn't even know about, you know, 2 years ago. I didn't even know how to turn on a GoPro. I was using my smartphone with everything, and I had a nephew down in Texas. He got so tired of my videos looking like crap that he bought me my first GoPro. He said, I want to see quality. And so from there, that was just the beginning. And now I'm 5 or 6 cameras in, and I got all this tech. I've got 3 monitors sitting in a studio. And so hopefully the channel will grow with that. And the end result is to try to make enough money off of it just for the gas money for when I retire, to just go around and do our own adventures. Because I can live off my retirement, but it'd be nice if YouTube paid a little bit of that for the fuel to get in and out of places. So that's kind of the direction I'd like to go with it. And if it does, it does. If it don't, it don't. And I'll keep shooting until I don't.
A lot of fun, great.
A lot of fun. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much, but I really like setting the cameras up. I really like trying to be inventive. It really shows an artsy side that I didn't even know I had. You know, to be walking down a trail going, ooh, look at that. That's going to be a good shot. And tuck your camera in behind this one rock and then ride your bike over it and do a little jump or something. And it just makes it just that much more cool. I don't know, that and the editing part of it. Because shooting, it's one side of the art. Editing is the other side. You know, your coloring of it, the fades, the music behind it. And there's so much to it that I never even dreamed of, and there's so much more that I don't even know. So, but I'm learning, and I love to learn new things.
Yeah, I think you do more video, or you're more creative with a lot of your shots than I am. And sometimes I'm watching your videos, I'm thinking, okay, you had to have walked up the trail, set the camera up, come back, walked up the trail again. And some of these hikes aren't really easy.
No. Not at all.
And then you got a couple cameras now, so you're setting up a couple cameras as you're doing certain things and driving in. And here in a little bit, we're actually going to put my drone up in the air and get some shots. And so it's like you're definitely, I think, more creative than I am as far as how you're shooting.
And you always have to be thinking ahead of what your next shot is, and that's what I'm still developing, is trying to get that flow. And it's really cool to just be walking and going, okay, I'm going to go set my camera up there, walk all the way back, act like you're naturally walking, don't staring at the camera, you know, and then you're kind of looking around and, you know, doing your thing, and then you got to come back, pick that up, then you want to turn it another direction and then walk another direction. It's really neat. When you're on your bike, it's really harder, because now you want your first person view of you on the bike, and then you want coming at you, and then you want you going away from you, and it engages the audience a lot better, and that's what I'm still learning. It's fun though.
And you don't have a camera crew?
No, it's just me. I mean, hers along for the ride. She is a passenger princess, and I treat her that way. I'm the one that created that monster, so she tells me, she reminds me. She doesn't like to be on camera that much, so I try not to shoot her as much, and just try to make her happy with that. But I still kind of sneak one in every now and then.
Just in case somebody's watching this, and we have so many hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Yeah.
I wish.
Someday. Well, if somebody's watching this and they're looking at it going, okay, both these guys have started YouTube channels. I've been going about 5 years. I've actually been going about 7 or 8 years with website creation. So it's my outdoor emergency tech has been about 5 years, and then Mike Rick Outdoors is about 3 years. And I'm getting ready to start up another one yesterday. But if somebody wants to get involved in this, I know you've been in it for 2 years, but I'd like to hear a bit of your advice or things to be careful about, or the thought process of if you're going to get started in this, if you think this is what you want to do, I mean, are you sure? You know, because I think a lot of people do fall away. Maybe they're expecting a certain amount of money or whatever. You know, why are you doing it? And so, can you give some advice about this from your 2-year journey?
No expectations. That's the biggest thing. If you go in it with expectations like you're gonna be monetized in a month, then you're gonna drop off. You're gonna get discouraged. Go into it as a creator, having fun, and don't expect to get 1,000 followers, you know, for the first 4 or 5 years. I mean, just don't expect it, and I think you'll do okay. But if you go in saying I'm gonna make this kind of money at this time, then you're gonna get frustrated and fall off.
Yeah, I think if you think you're going to get rich at it, well, you might, but it's going to be more than a few months.
Yeah, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while to build your base up and for YouTube to find you and get your algorithm because it takes a long time for YouTube to even realize that you're serious. And once you hit your 100 video mark, that's when they start looking at you. So that your first 100 is just trainings. But that's really the only advice I could give. And you know, all you got to do is just keep pumping them out, and you're going to get better. No matter what your skill level is, you're going to get better. And I've seen people get monetized within 2 videos, and it gets you frustrated. Like, what am I doing wrong? But they've hit their niche, and they know exactly what they're doing before they ever even started. Me, I just took a phone and started going around taking pictures, and I had to learn from scratch. They either had a coach or they had to pay a lot of money to go through schools or something like that, and then they learned all of it before they even started. Then they had a product that everybody wanted to learn about right then, and that's how they got monetized so quick. When you're doing just a camper or camping videos, there's so many of us out there that the market's really flooded. You know, a lot of people disagree with me on that, but I mean, you put in camping videos and you're going to get thousands hits, and you're going to get the big dogs up front. You know, you'll never see me on there. So you have to specifically look for Palomino truck camper, and then you'll find me, or MeAndHerAfterKids, all one word, then you'll find me. But right now I'm too small to be at the top of the search engine, that's for sure.
I think even in a competitive niche and you typically don't want to go into one of those. And you don't want to go up against Bass Pro, REI, Nike. But if you can find something within the niche that is something you do different, maybe you go into something in a review or something that's unique, it's more personalized, or you can find ways to be unique, but you've got to narrow down the niche and then be unique and be yourself. But I'm kind of curious, though, as far as technology, I've heard several things. You know, you can go start videoing with your camera, because most of these cameras shoot really great quality video. Mm-hmm. But I've also heard that audio is super important. And we've got these DJI mics on. You've got the same thing on with your stuff. And there's all kinds of stuff. But I've heard audio is important. But so technology, what have you found that has been critical for helping you get started, or to move to another level to where you're all of a sudden besides experience and how you talk and how you shoot, have you found something technology-wise that you would recommend?
Editing software. You know, there's free editing software out there that I was using, and you're very, very limited to what you can do with it. It's pretty much just cut, you know, keep cut, or you can add a little music. That's about all you can do with free software. And I was too cheap to pay the however much a month for this editing software I use now. I use Fillmore, and I think it's $21 a month, and I just don't want to pay that. That's another $20 a month. But the amount of stuff I can do with a video now, and with the AI technology that they have, and I'm just now learning all it, I think that's the turning point, is your editing software, because you can make a bad shot look great. You can edit your audio. You can actually AI voice over if you wanted to, and have someone else talking in your place. So I think it's all about the editing technology is what the key is.
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting and looking over my shoulder, wondering when you're going to be passing me up, and I'm going to be going, hey Jerry, what did you do? You're leaving me in the dust. What happened?
You know, I hope I can say that one day, but you know, it's hard not to get frustrated when you put in this much time and this much money into something that you love, and then you see a video come out that you spent 4 days editing, you know, 2 or 3 hours worth of footage, and you're getting it just right, and you think it's just perfect, and you love your video, and it gets 50 views. You're like, what did I do wrong? And you get frustrated, like, why am I even doing this? Why am I spending so much time doing this if all I'm going to get is 50 views? Well, then you just have to go back to your basics. You know, why did I shoot this video? Did I have fun doing it? Yes, I did. Did I have fun editing? Yes, I did. And then you go back into your hobby, you know, mindset. And then, you know, I've always had a mindset a hobby needs to pay for itself, but I don't know, you know, this one's not. But that's okay. Maybe one day it will, maybe one day it not. You know, it's my choice, and that's why I don't have a drone yet. You know, I don't want to spend $2,000 on a drone, a very nice drone, and end up not being able to use it or only getting 50 views off of that something. I'm just not ready for a drone. Maybe when I hit 2,000 or 3,000 followers, I'll probably get a drone. But right now, I just don't see it. That's why I got the Insta360 camera, and it kind of gives some small drone shots. That was just as expensive as a cheap drone. So.
Well, if I see that my drone's missing when we drive out of here.
Yeah, well, I'll bring it back. It may not have some blades on it, but I'll bring it back. You know, the uniqueness, that's what I've been told. My voice is very unique, and you know, because it's a Texas slang and plus my look, you know, I look like a terrorist, a biker terrorist at that. That's why I get hemmed up at the airport every time I go in. And I think it's because of my age. You know, my market is the 45 to 65 male range is my market that my videos go to. And so I kind of cater to that. You know, we all have bad knees, we have bad backs, you know, or, you know, can't do what we used to do, or outside of our prime, but I still show that it can be done. And if someone can watch me and see that this big dummy can be out doing it, and so why can't they? And so it's kind of where I've gone to in the mental side of it is to help people. You know, get off the couch, come see this for yourself. You know, leave it better than you found it. You know, try to pick up someone else's trash if they left it laying around, because this place right here may not be here for our grandkids if we don't take care of it right now, you know, and get rid of that entitlement mentality, and who cares if it's not your trash? Clean it up, you know, and just make it best for our next generation to enjoy it like we are. And that's kind of what my message is right now. So at every end of my video, it's respect one another and leave it better than you found it. So that's just kind of how I end it, and that's my philosophy now.
Yeah, I think it's great when you started out here, you're coming up once a year, Colorado, now you're living here, now you're out every weekend. Mm-hmm. And it's really great to see that, because a lot of people are stuck in cities, and maybe they're not completely stuck, but it's like a lot of us have been. We only can make 1, maybe 2 trips a year. And that's where I always tell people is find a vision, find out what you want to do in 5, 10, 20 years, and start working towards it. Don't just think that the life you have now is it. Can you improve on it? Can you make little changes, take a little step here and there? And if you want to live in a place like this, well, start making plans to get there.
And that's what we did. We got married 34 years ago, and we had a dream to come live here. This is where my mom was raised, and she camped in the same mountains that I'm camping in right now. And she left in 1967 to Texas, and I was shot out right after that. So to come here, it was a dream of mine and hers forever. And when we first got married, we said we're going to live here, and we tried. You know, back then there was no internet, believe it or not, and there was no cell phone, so you had to actually call the newspaper of the town you wanted to go to and have them send you a newspaper. You looked at the help wanted section and you started calling numbers, and I had a job at a tire shop up in Fort Collins, and we were getting ready to pack and go, and my old truck needed tires. And so we had to postpone for 6 months so I could buy some tires. So I bought some used tires on my truck, and we were getting ready to go. Well, she ended up getting pregnant. I don't know how. I've been sterile my whole life, but miracle babies. She ended up getting pregnant. So I go, okay, we'll stay here until the baby gets 1, and then we're going to move again. And so I called the place. They said that let them know when I'm ready to come up. So after about 1 year, then by that time we got into our own rhythm, and work started taking over, and I was going to college at nights, and it's just life started getting in the way. But we always dreamed of coming up here. So when we became empty nesters, we started vacationing up here, just really loving it. And I swore that by the time I was 50, I'd be living up here, and I only missed it by a year. I was 51 when I moved up here.
I was going to say you probably missed it by 30 years.
I was 51. I moved up here the day before my 51st birthday, so I only missed it for 1 year, my goal. And that was a 35-year-old goal that we had. So it was amazing. That's for sure, that to get to come up here and do what we can do now. And, that's why I don't mind cleaning up other people's stuff, because I respect this place. And I know a lot of the Colorado residents, the people who've actually been raised here, they don't like seeing outsiders coming in, just like we didn't in Texas. But I can assure them that I leave it better than I found it every time I go somewhere, and I sure respect their beauty that they have here.
Yeah, that's great. Tell me about your website. Well, you don't have a website, right? So your YouTube channel, some social media. Can you tell everybody a little bit about it?
I was sitting in a little Mexican restaurant, and this little girl looked at my shirt, and she asked what it was, and I told her it was about her YouTube channel, and she was all excited about it. And she asked if we were on TikTok, and I was like, no, I don't even know what TikTok is. And so she showed me on her phone, and she kind of described it that's the new thing. And 3 or 4 months later, now I've got a TikTok. So I'm actually on TikTok and Instagram. I've had an Instagram for a long time, even before I moved up here. It's more about my ranch and my building on my ranch and stuff like that, and what we've done and our hunting adventures. And so now I've kind of geared it more towards our Colorado adventures and things that we do up here. I do shorts also on YouTube, and so yeah, it's a little bit different because that's a whole different format. So I'm still kind of learning how to edit all that. That's for sure. You have to bear with me on the TikTok and Instagram stuff, because some of them are not framed right, and so you can tell an old man's doing it. Let's put it that way.
So is it MeAndHerAfterKids the same, all one word for
yeah.
all three?
All three. MeAndHerAfterKids for all three, all one word.
Now, I did hear from somebody that you were breakdancing in Las Vegas. And did that make it onto TikTok?
No, sometimes we think we're young. And I was in Las Vegas on a business trip, and golly, man, I was walking from the Cosmopolitan back up the Strip, and I stopped and watched a breakdance deal, and they were asking for volunteers, so I started walking off, and they said, hey, Salt Pepper. And I knew they were talking about me because of my beard, and so I got out there and I tried breakdancing. Well, I threw my back out and hurt my right knee, and everybody was laughing, so I kind of just limped off into the dark. But hey, I gave it a shot. Why not?
I don't know if I would have done that.
Well, I had everybody cheering me on, so
yeah.
Why not? And it would have been something if I was 22 or something. I, kicked out and spun around and, did what I could do. And I tried it, and my lower back said, no, you're not that age anymore. Quit. And I quit.
Somebody videoed that. It'd be nice if you get a copy of it.
I'm sure somebody did video it, but no, I don't want to see that. That would just be a sad old man.
I'd like to get it and just hold it over your head.
Yeah. You in case I run for president one day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty bad whenever the breakdancer guys are like, man, you need to exercise. I'm like, man, you get away from me. And they're in their early 20s, but golly. Yeah, sometimes your mind thinks that you're still young and you're really not. But
yeah.
And that's the same with out here in these mountains. We limit ourselves to what we can do from what we used to do. I'll see a cliff with some boulders on it, and my first thought is I'm going to go bouldering, and I'll start halfway up that cliff to get to them, and I go, this ain't a good idea, because I'm going to get up here and twist something, break something, and then how is she going to get me back down the trail with her bad back and all that? I'm like, no, I think this is pretty good. I'm going to go up and touch the boulder. Yeah, we went to Echo Park, and for some reason I tried to get all the way up this one cliff to get over this arch. It was a natural arch. I wanted to walk across it just for a good shot, and I got about 3/4 of the way up, and I said, this is dumb. And so we just kind of left it at that. So yeah, we know our limits now, and we try to stick by them, because being back up in here, there's nobody to come rescue you, and I really don't want to hit that SOS button on our emergency beacon and have helicopters come in. I don't want that, because that means I'm in bad shape.
Well, at least you're getting out here and you're getting in shape. You've lost a bunch of weight.
Yep.
And now you're going to be able to do things longer in your life and be, have a better quality of life. And so that's great to see.
It's just the stuff you got to take with you.
Yeah.
The stuff that you never normally
Like
would
your
never
wife.
pack. Well, not just the wife, but you got to take 2 knee braces with you at all times. You got to take a back brace. You got to take icy hot. So it's funny to compare backpacks from 20-year-olds to 50-year-olds. They've got water and protein snacks and all that, and we've got Bengay and knee braces and bandages, because our skin's thinner, so you rake up against a tree on your way through, then you start bleeding, you got to put Band-Aids all over you, and so by the end of a good 10-mile hike, it looks like we've been to hell and back.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing. I would love to be able to sit there next to a guy that a normal through hiker, and we compare backpacks. I'd love to pull one thing out and he pulls one thing out, and then all mine's going to be old man stuff. His going to be, survival young man stuff. So that'd be fun.
Good. That's a good video.
That'd be a good video. And not just the backpacks, but I would also love to compare bucket list items with a younger guy now, because when you start your bucket list in the very beginning when you're young, it may be something like scaling Dome Rock or rappelling the Grand Canyon or something like that. And then as you get older and you can't do that, then you start scratching those things off and you start adding bus ride through Spain or something like that. So I'd love to be able to compare bucket list items with a young guy now and just see how old I'm actually getting. Other than that, that's really all I had on that.
Well, thanks, Jerry. I know we've got some more camping left to do today and another campfire tonight, but it's always great hanging out with you, and I appreciate you sharing your stories.
Yeah, we have steak and potatoes tonight.
We do.
Yeah.
Are you cooking or me?
I've got it all. They're marinating right now.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for joining me out here, or I guess I'm joining you. You were camping out first. But we'll be doing a lot more stuff together, so I think everybody just keep watching your videos, Me and Her After Kids, and not that I would plug myself, but of course it's here on Outdoor Emergency Tech. But again, it's been great hanging out, so thanks for joining.
I appreciate it. It's been fun.